how do I get my quality and regulatory, and in your case, my technical people, how do I get them to collaborate better? So we're talking internal first, and then as a force perhaps with the CDMO. Are there certain ways you can do that? We talk about silos and breaking them down, and any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, you have to find a common ground and understand where the other person is coming from, right? Like, I think just going in there with demands of it has to be this way is never going to work in a team environment, right? You have to be like, I'm concerned about this. This is why. What are your strategies to deal with that, right? I mean, we have CMC teams where we have to work together, quality, regulatory, and technical. And, at the end of the day, we all have the same goal to bring these medicines to patients, and that for the regulatory agencies to accept them. One thing that I would like to say that is incredibly important is to make sure you're aligned as a company prior to talking to the CMO, because there's nothing worse than being in a CDMO meeting and then just to start debating with your quality colleagues. So making sure you have those pre-meetings. I think I just saw somebody put a thumbs up there. Yeah, to make sure you're aligned on what you want to do ahead of time before talking to your partner.
Very good. Because I think you've spent a good part of your career trying to bring different folks and different groups together. Quality and regulatory. Let's be clear. Usually they're working together, but we're saying they need to up that game even more, and then the connection with the CDMO, and maybe get the CDMO, make sure the CDMO internally is on the same page as well. So how do we get those groups specifically to understand the need for enhanced coordination?
Yeah, I think it's gotten easier surprisingly because of new advanced modalities have sort of changed the definition of quality. We're moving it away from a classical inspection and testing framework, which is what quality used to be. And then, in 2004, Janet Woodcock changed everything with her vision of CGMPs for the 21st century. 2011 guidance came out and basically enforced ICH Q8 and Q9 out there. And that was a huge paradigm shift for quality. And now you find that the quality group, the regulatory group, and the product development group, the CMC group, have got to really be talking to each other, because it's not a checkbox activity to go through the I&D and product development exercise anymore. It's not like you're going to do a simple HPLC test in order to measure potency on this. It may be a matrix approach of 3 or 4 different analytical tests, which together give you enough substantiation to say, this is good and this is bad. And you have to make that argument to the FDA. And if quality doesn't understand that, then they can't adjudicate when the data comes into them. So it is a paradigm shift. So I found that folks are far more collaborative because there are more questions around it. Even the stage 3 of the process validation guidance, the notion of allowing an engineer to go on the floor and make a process change because he understands the design space to bring it back into control, was a huge paradigm shift for most of the industry out there. So I think there is a greater appreciation for what good looks like in the regulatory, the quality, and the product development world that drives a little more harmonization there. Mm-hmm. You're still going to have different levels of risk tolerance. You're still going to have different levels of compliance tolerance as you step into each one of these conversations and issues there, but recognizing that, what the end goal looks like kind of helps people to navigate those differences.
Mm-hmm. Christine, would you like to jump in there?
I think Vikas said this perfectly. These groups, quality, technical, and regulatory, have really come together. Based on the fact that there is a need. The technical nature of these new modalities has to be understood by everyone. a lot more than what when I started growing up in quality, what was really used to. Quality is not just a paper pushing, system setting up kind of job. You have to understand a lot of the technical nature of things, so you're able to assess risk. You're able to implement a system that might be able to control within a certain, range, the product in the manufacturing cycle. And you have to know that. Same with from a regulatory point of view. I just think it's just absolutely a need now. So I don't think that it's something that can be debated as much. It's a need to have at this stage.
Yep. Aaron, would you like to weigh in? Am I seeing you?
No, I just want to, there's one comment on that, which is I think now with so many different modalities, right? Sometimes someone comes from one modality and what is needed from a quality perspective may not be the same for a different one. And so I think we all have to have the patience that, because we're hiring people from all these different backgrounds to explain what is expected for the particular modality you're in and how it may not be the same as another one, right? It may be more stringent or just different. And having the patience to do that education, I think, is critical. And I've seen that a lot, especially going from, a company that was more small molecule based to a company now that has sort of that historical biologics background.
Mm-hmm. One common area that helps bridge the gap, because they all have the same pain point, is how are you going to handle data, right? This is the notion of structured data exchange. It sweeps the drug sponsor, the CDMO, and the FDA or the health authority out there. Everyone is now figuring out how do we efficiently and effectively and with confidence gather data in a timely fashion to allow ourselves to analyze and make decisions on it so that we can bring these drugs to market faster in a way where we maintain the quality of it and the integrity of it. And that is a complicated thing for a CDMO to have to handle. They have a multi-tenant architecture with multiple sets of data going into these huge cloud-based data lakes that have got to be segregated, and then you want what you want. So having a really clear idea of what good looks like for you so that you can have that conversation during the due diligence with the CDMO is one way to kind of just make sure that everyone's